The National Publicity Secretary of the APC, Felix Morka, is with us in the studio. Good to see you, Felix, and thanks for your time.
Good to see you.
Well, we saw you earlier on. This is an internal affair, but now it has the national coloration and concern of everyone. Now, take us through the whole idea of what you reeled out earlier on, because many had thought that the Southeast would have a share in that. Instead, it's a deputy speakership position.
Thank you very much. Yes, earlier this evening, I did announce the party's position on these key presiding offices of the National Assembly, the 10th Assembly. Now, let me say that this announcement didn't come easy. This is, has been long expected. And what happened today was simply the outcome of this protracted consultations with all levels of leadership of the party, including the president-elect and other leaders of the party, to try to figure out what was in the best interest, not just of the party, but of the country. As some of our eminent party leaders have said, ultimately, this is a decision that has to be made by the members-elect, on the floor of, both houses, whether of the Senate or the House of Representatives. But for those who were elected on the platform of APC, on our party's platform, our hope is that they would take seriously the party's recommendation in terms of where these offices, come from. We are the party. They are our party members, eminent members who have been elected to represent their various constituencies. And we have nothing but respect for them as individuals, but also for those who even elected them.
Right,
And,
but
yes.
very quick, how does, first off, what was the thinking behind this particular zoning formula and the outcome? The South-South getting the Senate presidency, of course, Southeast getting deputy speaker. What exactly were the factors that led to this decision, which you say was quite painstaking and difficult?
Look, if you go through the history of the presiding officers of the National Assembly since 1999, for Senate, for example, the Southeast has had quite, a fair play, if you will, in the leadership of the Senate. They have had that. The South-South really has not. And when you look at already the presidency, from the Southwest, the vice, president, from the Northeast, that leaves you with, 4 districts. And then when you really go into the details of it, you find that both in terms of the need to ensure balance, ensure equity, and, some level of fairness, quite frankly, to these other regions, especially given the very unique, peculiar circumstances that we have just come through with our general elections. You've got to look beyond, self-interest to really try to score a position that gives the best, prospect for, inclusion and for participation of marginal districts within the context of the current political, realities. So when you really take that formula, it's not that, far-fetched to, and by the way, I'm being very cautious about how I present this because, every individual who has expressed interest in vying for the position of these presiding officers, these are party members that we, cherish, and they have a constitutional right.
And that's where I'm
to aspire.
And that's where I'm headed, Felix. Yes. Did the representatives from the geopolitical zone, now I'm talking about Southeast, did they buy in on this? So when the party came up with this logic of arriving at giving or zoning the deputy speakership to the zone, were they in consensus with the party?
Well, consultation is not necessarily about consensus. It's about ensuring that all of the key stakeholders have, a fair opportunity to weigh in, on that decision.
In other words, some of them kicked against it.
You can have any sort of parity in terms of, zonal confluence of ideas, of agreement. But the point here is that the party is taking time to reach out to all of these sections, to aggregate, opinions. And at the end of it, the party, has made the decision that we have announced this evening. And by the way, if you read that statement, it was very carefully worded, because we know that even as of today, consultations will continue until probably about, 30-something days before the National Assembly has to be inaugurated,
right, to
continue that consultation. So it's an unfinished business. Yeah. We are in it to continue to consult. I saw some of the announcements made this evening by, some of our members. Like I said, they're well within their right
there is a
to
thinking.
Do so. But,
yes,
the party
absolutely
has spoken and offered some guidance, hopefully, that, all of them will now take into account in, moderating some of their own positions, going forward.
Right. There are two lines of thinking here, that in spite of what seems to be like the Southeast trying to line up behind the ruling or the governing APC, the best it has gotten is some kind of demotion. Like you've said, yes, the Southeast has had an enjoyment of the Senate leadership in the past. But it seems one would have thought that the worst case scenario would be to get the same Senate presidency and not necessarily to be demoted. That, on the one hand. And then the question of the independence of the National Assembly is being, brought to the fore now, because the party seems to be at the forefront of deciding who the leadership of the party, of the National Assembly would be in the 10th Assembly.
No, that's politics. That's always
they are saying, look, it's the parliamentarians that should decide.
See, the party has not said that we have made a decision for the National Assembly. This is the way it works. It has always worked like this. Because, don't forget that every member of the National Assembly was elected on the platform of a political party, whereas of the APC, of the other opposition parties. That's the nature of our presidential system. We don't yet have in this country independent candidacy. Therefore, political parties that actually offer their platform for the election of those who serve, even in the National Assembly, it's understood as a system of government that the party has a say. Now, what we do is
final say.
No, look, the vote will be taken on the floor of the House of Representatives
and it's by secret ballot, so things can be overturned.
Look,
against the party.
That's not, again, that's speculative, but that's not the conversation here.
Right.
The issue here is that as a party, we have offered our own thinking in consultation with all of the various sections of the party, consultation that is actually going to continue until the day the assembly is inaugurated. Now, that is the nature of our democratic engagement. And it's not different.
And the other question about the Southeast, the best they can get under the APC is Deputy Speaker.
You may as well ask about the South-South. You may as well ask about the North-Central, about the North-West, about the North-East.
South has been president.
You see, the point here is that at the end of the day, we can't make that sort of comparative analysis. Because if you do, it leads you to a dead end. Point is that as of today, based on all of the circumstances that the party is looking at, the party is offering the ideas we have, I think announced today, as a guide to our party, leaders and elected officials, in the National Assembly to follow. Now, like I said, our democracy is very unique, and which is that every individual who has aspiration to run for any of these presiding offices, has a right to do so. But all we're saying is that as a party, we are offering ideas that will help us, I think, ensure that we have total, if you will, buying of the generality of the party.
You know, I was going to ask quickly here because you should also, as a political party, be worried. And now you've seen some other party members vehemently, you know, state their stance that they were going to go ahead even after your announcement. So is the APC also worried about a repeat of 2015 from happening, looking at the list you already have?
No, we're not worried, but we are very attentive. And that's why I said, you know, when people have a right to do something, you can't just snap your finger and actually shut them down. You can't. But I also have said that we made, you know, this announcement today, knowing that we have, you know, 30 or more long days ahead of us to, you know, continue our engagement. Yes, today is, you know, the 8th of May. By the 20th of May, by the, you know, 1st of June, maybe we will have a new day. And we are not going to rest here. We continue. These are our party. These are loyal party men and women.
Right.
So we're confident that we will be able to, you know, engage and hopefully, you know, persuade them to actually, you know, reach that point where we can all agree.
Right.
And that's,
okay.
You know, these are loyal party men and women. So we're
made that point. Absolutely.
We're not that worried. We're not that concerned.
Very quickly before we let you go, the question about the fairness of making a Northwest emerge Senate President and Speaker House of Reps. It looks like, from all indication, that the Northwest is being rewarded maybe for the number of votes cast in spite of the sensibilities from other parts of the country.
Northwest.
No,
The Northwest,
speakership.
that the Northwest is getting the speakership of the House of Reps and the Deputy Senate President.
Look, there are so many intricate reasons which I can possibly begin to speak to, you know, national television. But make no mistake that when the fullness of, you know, this announcement happened just a few hours ago. So we haven't even had time to, you know, many Nigerians, many, you know, of the people who are watching have not even had time to digest and figure out the individuals who are also, you know, have been put forward. When that is all laid out, I am sure that many Nigerians will begin to see the logic and perhaps the wisdom in some of the decisions that have been made. I think it will take a few days for that to, you know, completely unfold. But I think that in the coming days we will begin to see the logic, the wisdom, and perhaps even the compelling circumstances.
All right,
that
we'll be here
justify
to
these, you know, announcement.
We'll be
of
here
this evening.
definitely to
Absolutely.
Interrogate the wisdom.
Absolutely, I
and
trust
all
you.
of that.
I know you will.
Felix Morka is the
Thank you.
APC National Publicity Secretary, joining us tonight on News Now.